I don't have anything negative to say about Sean Combs because my experience was not what the world has seen and how he's been, misrepresented.
Being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
30 years, I've done nothing but collect information, knowledge, and your secrets. So if you and a man was in a corner doing something you wasn't supposed to be doing,
you would tell it.
No, somebody come to tell me.
Okay.
I gather that. I value that. I'll pay for that.
Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story.
What if everything you thought you knew about Justin Bieber was just the clean version of a much darker story? Yeah, let that sink in. Because according to explosive claims now resurfacing online, Katt Williams didn't just hint at industry secrets. He practically lit a match and walked away while the whole system started burning. And right at the center of it, two names you never expected to see together like this: Usher and a teenage Justin Bieber. Now ask yourself this: why would one of the biggest artists in the world suddenly distance himself from the very mentor who helped launch his career? Why did things go from brotherhood to complete silence? And more importantly, what really happened behind those closed doors during those so-called mentorship days? Because if what Katt is suggesting is even partially true, then this isn't just industry gossip anymore. This is something way bigger, something way darker. And trust me, by the time you hear what allegedly went down, you're going to look at the music industry very differently. The thing about the entertainment industry is nothing ever happens out of nowhere. Every explosion you see on the surface, it's usually been building quietly for years. And that's exactly why the situation between Usher and Justin Bieber feels less like a random fallout and more like a ticking time bomb that was always going to go off. Because let's rewind for a second. Before the fame, before the headlines, before the chaos, Justin Bieber was just a kid on YouTube. Raw talent, big dreams. And then suddenly, he gets discovered, pulled into the spotlight, and placed under the wing of one of the biggest R&B stars in the world, Usher. At the time, it looked like a fairy tale. Usher wasn't just a mentor, he was positioned as a protector, the industry big brother, the one guiding this young teenager through a world that chews people up and spits them out. But here's where things start to get uncomfortable, because almost immediately after signing Justin, Usher made a decision that, back then, nobody questioned, but today, it's raising a lot of eyebrows. He introduced Justin to Sean Combs. Yeah, that name. Now, at the time, this was framed as an opportunity, a power move. Learn from the best, they said. This is how legends are made. But what exactly was Justin stepping into? Because if you go back and look at the clips, the interviews, the old footage that's still online, you start to notice something strange. There's this one moment that people keep bringing up. Justin, still clearly a teenager, standing next to Diddy, trying to smile, trying to play along. But there's something off. The energy feels weird. Forced. Almost like he doesn't fully understand what's happening, but knows enough to feel uncomfortable. And here's the part that really gets people talking. Years later, Justin's behavior changes. Completely. We're talking sudden rebellion, legal issues, emotional breakdowns, substance abuse rumors. A complete shift from the bright, happy kid everyone fell in love with to someone who looked like he was trying to escape something he couldn't explain. Coincidence? Or consequence? Because while all of this is happening, Usher, the same mentor who introduced him to this world, starts becoming more distant, less involved. Almost like he's stepping back while everything unfolds.
All of these big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. Takes any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
As soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you come, you're 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay, I get the mansion?
Yeah.
No,
you ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you haven't. I mean, you tried to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
Remember?
Yeah.
And people noticed. In fact, insiders, anonymous sources, the kind that can't be named for legal reasons, started whispering that the relationship between Usher and Justin didn't just fade naturally. It fractured. One alleged insider claimed it wasn't just industry pressure. There were things Justin experienced that changed how he saw everyone around him, especially the people who put him in those rooms. Now hold on, because it gets even crazier. Fast forward to a recent high-profile afterparty. The kind where anyone shows up. Cameras flashing. Celebrities everywhere. And right there, in the middle of all that luxury and champagne, a heated exchange. Justin Bieber and Usher. According to multiple reports, and yes, even some conveniently leaked posts that mysteriously disappeared minutes later, Usher approached Justin first. Not casually, not friendly, with energy, with tension. One viral post claimed, you could feel it across the room. Justin wasn't smiling. Usher looked serious. This wasn't a reunion, it was a confrontation. And apparently, it didn't stay quiet. Voices raised. Words exchanged. People stepping in to separate them before things escalated further. Now think about that for a second. This isn't just any disagreement. This is years of history bubbling up in one moment. So the question becomes, what exactly was said in that confrontation? What could push a former protege to look at his mentor, not with respect, but with visible frustration? And more importantly, why now? Because timing is everything. And this confrontation didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened right as Katt Williams started making noise again, dropping hints, connecting dots that a lot of people weren't ready to look at. Dots that seemed to point back to those early days. Those mentorship moments. Those closed doors. And suddenly, what once looked like a success story is starting to feel like something else entirely. Something a lot harder to ignore. And just when people thought this drama couldn't get any messier, that's when everything completely flipped. Because up until this point, most people were still treating this as just another celebrity fallout. Misunderstandings, ego clashes, maybe a little jealousy. But then the internet did what it does best. It started digging. And within hours, old clips, forgotten interviews, and buried footage of Justin Bieber with Sean Combs began resurfacing everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, even mainstream blogs started picking it up. But this time, people weren't watching those clips for entertainment. They were analyzing them, frame by frame, energy by energy. And suddenly, moments that once seemed harmless started feeling uncomfortable. One viral tweet racked up over 2 million views in hours. It read, "We all laughed at this back then, but why does Justin look genuinely uneasy here? Something's not right." Another post went even further. "Y'all owe Katt Williams an apology. He's been warning us about this for years." And just like that, the narrative shifted. This wasn't just drama anymore. This was starting to look like a pattern. Then came the second twist, the one that really set everything on fire. A so-called insider leak started circulating online. No official source. No confirmation. Just screenshots, messages, and alleged conversations that people claim came from someone close to the situation. Now, take this with a grain of salt. But the internet? Oh, it ran with it. One of the messages allegedly said, "Justin didn't just drift away from Usher, he cut him off. Completely. There's a reason he refused to work with him again." Another claimed, there were things happening during those mentorship years that Justin never spoke about publicly. And he doesn't plan to, but he hasn't forgotten either. And just like that, the conversation went from speculation to full-blown conspiracy mode. News outlets, yes, even the ones that usually avoid messy stories, started covering the tension between Usher and Justin. Headlines like, "Fans question Bieber's past after viral clips resurface. Did Usher cross a line?" Internet demands answers. Katt Williams' old claims gain new attention, but here's where it gets even crazier. Celebrities started reacting. Subtly but noticeably. One anonymous artist tweeted, "Protect young artists."
Bad boys.
Oh, he's bad boy now.
Signing the bad boy.
It's your icon alert.
Protective of her. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, she can count on me. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So I just I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call.
$50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting about it. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no.
Not everyone in this industry has good intentions. Another posted, some of y'all favorite mentors got stories they praying never come out. No names. No direct accusations. But the timing? Way too convenient. And, of course, fans were divided. On one side, you had people defending Usher. Y'all are reaching. He helped make Justin who he is today. Show some respect. On the other side, it was a completely different energy. Helping someone's career doesn't mean you own them. Something definitely happened. Then came the deeper dives. YouTube creators started connecting dots. Old interviews where Justin talked about feeling lost. Moments where he hinted at struggling behind the scenes. Clips where he spoke about not trusting people in the industry anymore. And suddenly, everything started lining up in a way that made people uncomfortable. Even Justin's past behavior, his breakdowns, his sudden lifestyle changes, his need to step away, was being re-examined under a completely new lens. Coincidence? Or evidence? Because if you ask the internet right now, they've already made up their minds. And then, just when things couldn't get more intense, a new clip started trending. A recent interview with Usher himself. Calm, composed, smiling, defending Sean Combs, saying he has nothing negative to say about him, calling him a legacy. And that was the moment everything exploded. Because now people weren't just questioning the past, they were questioning the present. Why defend someone at the center of so much controversy? Why stay silent about everything else? And most importantly, what does Usher know that he's not saying? Because now the story isn't just about Justin anymore. It's about everyone connected to this web. And if even half of these rumors are true, then this might be bigger than anyone expected. So the real question is, who speaks next? And what happens when they do? And just when it felt like the internet had already uncovered everything, that's when the final piece quietly slipped into the conversation and flipped the entire narrative on its head. Because up until now, people were focused on Justin Bieber, his past, his behavior, his silence. But what if Justin was never the one people should have been questioning? What if he was actually the one who saw everything first? Yeah, this is where things take a turn. Because a resurfaced clip, one that barely got attention when it first dropped, is now being reanalyzed in a completely different light. In that clip, Justin is talking about the industry, but not in a direct way. He's careful, measured, almost like he's choosing every word to avoid saying too much. He says something along the lines of, "There are things I went through that I wouldn't want anyone else to experience." At the time, people brushed it off. Now, people are asking what exactly was he talking about? And here's where the twist hits. According to multiple online theories, and again, these are claims circulating, not confirmed facts, Justin didn't just distance himself from Usher. He started warning others. Subtly. Quietly. Almost like someone who knows too much but can't say it out loud. Fans are now pointing to his public support for younger artists. The way he's gone out of his way to be protective. The way he's spoken about the dangers of fame at a young age. And suddenly, it doesn't feel random anymore. It feels intentional. It feels like someone trying to break a cycle. But here's the part that really has people on edge. Because while all of this is happening, while the internet is connecting dots and digging deeper, the people at the center of it all, they're not panicking. They're not denying. They're not even fully responding.
I think certain people are prosecuted and maybe not recognized for the greatness, that they offer. I don't have anything negative to say about Sean Combs because my experience was not what the world has seen and how he's been, misrepresented. I'm not saying that every man is perfect. I'm not saying that all of us don't have flaws, but I can't, with any sense of humanity, not recognize the valuable contributions that this man made for us as Black entrepreneurs, for us as businessmen, for us as people who transition, culture and ideas into something that's tangible and becomes business. So many people benefited from what he created. And I acknowledge that. And that's why I see him as legacy.
Yeah. You told Shannon Sharp you learned a lot about business during that era.
Absolutely.
What'd you learn?
Puff was a mentor, but he was like you have that really, really hard teacher, but you're watching something in real time. I think that the idea of the level of discipline that came with that time in business, especially in an era that was trying to prove itself culturally.
Especially when it comes to Sean Combs. And that silence? It's loud. Too loud. Because in situations like this, silence can mean a lot of things. But the one thing it never means is that nothing is going on. And then, almost like fuel being thrown on an already raging fire, Katt Williams re-enters the conversation. No long interview. No full breakdown. Just a short, cryptic statement during a live appearance. Everything done in the dark. Don't stay there forever. That's it. No names. No details. But the timing? Perfect. Because now people aren't just looking at the past. They're waiting for what comes next. Waiting for someone to slip up. Waiting for another clip, another leak, another voice to speak out. And according to some insiders, again, take this how you want, there are whispers that more stories are about to come out. Bigger names. Deeper connections. Things that could completely change how people see the entire industry. So now the question isn't just what happened, it's who's next. Because if this really is just the beginning, then what we've seen so far might only be the surface. And trust me, if even one more piece of this puzzle drops, this whole story could explode in a way nobody is ready for. And now, after everything you just heard, the real question is, what do you believe? Is this all just another internet-fueled conspiracy? Or are we finally seeing cracks in a system that's been protected for decades? Because let's be honest, when names like Justin Bieber, Usher, and Sean Combs keep showing up in the same conversation over and over again, at some point, it stops looking like coincidence. And what about Katt Williams? Was he really just joking all these years, or was he warning everyone in plain sight? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. I'm telling you, this is one of those stories where every opinion matters. Do you think Justin was trying to distance himself for a reason?
They canceled me for talking about Harvey Weinstein before the thing came out, but he offered to suck my in front of all my people at my agency. What am I supposed to do? He did all of that. I'm thinking I'm the only Black person on the script. I get there, there's 3 other Black guys on there. Woo. Huh.
So you wonder what they did?
I told him no. What y'all do?
Diddy, and he know a lot of stuff about Diddy that a lot of people don't know.
Man, it's a lot of stuff that Mace and Usher know that they ain't telling about Diddy. There's a lot of stuff that they know. Can you imagine, bruh? Can you really imagine?
What you mean by Usher, though?
Usher used to stay with Diddy, too, when he was younger. Usher did have a situation, and that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. Let Usher mama explain that to you. And the hospital was in Scarsdale, New York.
Or is the internet just connecting dots that don't actually exist? And don't hold back, because the more you look into this, the deeper it gets. If you made it this far, go ahead and hit that like button, because you already know this isn't the kind of story everyone is willing to talk about. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because if anything new drops, any leaks, any statements, any receipts, you're going to hear it here first. And trust me, this story, it's far from over.